They say it's down due to popular demand, but really, they've got you under their hypnotic command. You have no say who runs the CIA, because the American dream is a pyramid scheme. Subliminal criminal secret agency. You can't fool me with your blatancy. Sinister minister, don't call me an ignoramus. Just get Anton Deck to entertain us. But do you reckon the media circus is fucking with our heads and they're doing it on purpose? Looking out my window, it's a lovely world. There's a great colour scheme, blue and green, trees, birds. Yeah, lovely landscape in that. That aside, what the fuck is going on? It's a pretty mental place, ain't it, right now? From the beginning of this year, we've had quite a lot of interesting news happening. We've had a meteor, Pope resigning and getting replaced. Kim Jong-il kick up a little stink recently. Yeah, Thatcher funeral tomorrow. Yeah, a lot of the news right now, if people have been keeping up with what's his name? Dallas Goldbug. Yeah, people will be aware of the shills involved. Mock news, you know? Like, to make sense of that, you just got to see the people involved with the giant corporate entertainment conglomerate business companies, whatever, like Disney, Viacom, News Corp. Yeah, News Corp, Murdoch. He's part of the Order of the St. Gregory the Great, Catholic order. He's quite high up. It's a knighthood. He's got a knighthood of the papacy, so he's kissed the papa's ring and he's like in the little club. His privileges is that he can ride a horse around the basilica, which sounds pretty fun. Who else is in this club? Someone that was very high up. He had the title of Night Star Commander. Sounds pretty hip. He was Ron Disney, the guy that took over Disney from the 60s to his death in the noughties. So we've had decades of, you know, just those two men alone. Not to mention Jimmy Savile being in this club. They have been kind of giving us our daily dose of fantasy and news. News? So the people that are telling you to go to Disneyland are the same people that are telling you the news. The Catholics. So there's a connection right there with big business Hollywood and the news. Okay, so yeah, it's a lovely world, great scenery, and great colour scheme. What is the problem in our story? Earth has had, you know, quite a long story so far. It's been one of like bad kings, you know, and queens. They're not being very nice to us for all these years, you know, hundreds of years. Why? You know, to get in the mind of these guys, I really want to do. They make it a bit difficult because they're all in secret clubs. You know, Margaret Thatcher, she's part of Order of the Garter. Order of the Garter is a knighthood from the medieval times. Edward III created it. He motto as well is still in medieval French to this day. Translated, it means medieval French is "On y y pense." Translated, that's shame and you think evil of it. This knighthood order throughout history, since the medieval times, it had all the kings of the continent on there, all the dukes of Earls, yeah, still all the top guys, you know, and it is a Catholic order. Throughout history, you've had the Roman, the emperors of like Maximilius is the second. They were the emperors of the Roman Empire. There was, you know, the kings of Prague, Bohemian kings. They're all Catholic. You know, throughout history, all the kings are part of this Catholic order. You know, Henry VIII brought in the Church of England. That's just a front. It's still Catholic underneath. So, you know, seeing what his daughter did, Elizabeth I, in the creation of Shakespeare, this is where British intelligence was first created by John Dee, the original 007. Shakespeare is a pseudonym. It's a reference to the Roman and Greek theatre. Shakespeare's were Apollo and Athena in Greek, and the Roman equivalent is the sun and Minerva. There's a lot to say about Minerva and maritime law. They both go together very neatly. John Dee studied a lot of the Greek plays. This is where controlling masses, you know, the royals, that's their job. They're looking after mass amount of people. In order to do that, to, you know, well, with what Elizabeth was trying to do, as she has, like, declared herself a Protestant, so the story goes, the Pope just wanted her dead, you know, because of it being heathen. So she had to protect herself. At the time, the country was split apart by languages. There was French, there was Germans, there was Welsh language, Cornish, Gaelic. Yeah, everyone's talking different languages. She needed to unite the country together in order to stay safe. How she did that was, she created, revolutionized English language to unite everyone and bring in my mind, the BBC, British Broadcasting Company, where she was educating the masses. If you look at Shakespeare's playography, there's a lot of history involved. You know, they explain a lot of key points in history, like Cleopatra and, the Celtic kings like King Lear. They're bringing you in. They're bringing the public into history, be it their view of history, what they want you to know about history. But even still, it is education. A lot of people say Francis Bacon was behind Shakespeare. I say it's a group of people, but Bacon is an amazing character. He brought in a lot of literature into the public. He brought in imperialism. He was quite against the whole. He didn't like religious superstition. He wanted facts. He was a man of science. I think that really did change the country as a whole. We did end up going into the Industrialist Revolution. How Shakespeare reflects in modern day. I said it was a team of writers that created what we know of Shakespeare's work. They're called the Oxford and Cambridge Wits, like Christopher Marlowe. These Oxford and Cambridge Wits, knowing the circumstances at the time, Elizabeth was threatened. She needed to protect herself. In war, there's a lot of secrecy. So the English language is laced with cryptology and what's it called? Gematria? Is that it? No. So, to protect herself, she created the language, even to say like a spell. I mean, spelling, spell. It was Philip K. Dick, my favorite sci-fi writer, who said, if you want to control a mass of people, you control their language. There's a lot to say with the creation of Britannia, like coining that word, back in the Elizabethan times. Britannia is Minerva. She rules the waves. Maritime law. This makes sense if you're into the whole astrology thing and the whole age of Pisces. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of wordplay on water and but it wasn't even just the Western astrology, but in the Kali Yoga, they say of this age where you have to pay for water, which is, water is not free. I like it because it does explain a lot of Pisces. Pisces imprisonment, Pisces water. But I was talking about Shakespeare and how it relates to modern day. There's a lot of my favourite comedians, or my favourite type of comedy is satire. Satire has been used since the Greek and Roman times to be it's the most effective source of understanding a society. Through humour, you see a lot of depths within a culture's structure, like their values, power systems, tastes, or it can expose a lot. But satire within art, its main aim is to ridicule with intent, to shame, so that the person that is the brunt of the joke can improve in a weird way. They've got to play catch up. This is the same as Shakespearean times, these Oxford wits, like the comedians in modern day. They're like, if you look into it, find out, where these comedians that we see on the TV are from, majority are from Oxford and Cambridge. I'm interested in the whole wordplay of satire. Satire, everyone thinks of the man half goat guy, like Pan, a satire, a satyr, like Saturn, the Capricorn. It's a very Capricornian thing. If you're always seeking the higher ground, the Capricorn's nature, they are the authorities. That's their energy. To keep the higher ground, just take a bit of, if you know that you know better, you are in a position to mock. But even by mocking that individual who is the brunt of the mock, it's his conscious effort to deal with the whole thing. I mean, evolution, it will prevail. We are only getting smarter. I feel this is how they do keep people in check, just by having them under this comical, just to put people under the thumb, because mocking their ignorance, only because they've been educated. Like these aristocrats, they put the children into boarding schools or private education. I think private education is the beginning of this whole Hogwarts thing. You know, it's secret. It's the first initiation into literally a secret society. Because private schools are private. I don't really know what they go up to, but it does all look a bit like Hogwarts. You know, if you watch the movie, they're all wearing like black foxtail suits. All the students and like all the little wizards in Harry Potter, they look rather Etonian. I have that kind of feel, you know, when you watch the movie and like walking around the school. Yeah, it's very traditional English sort of vibe going on, you know. A lot of my friends were the cast, like extras, you know, people in the background. They had to get lots of children, and they picked a drama school in my local town. Yeah, so I watched the movie and I recognise them. And I'm from the Thames Valley, so I think they wanted to get that accent, you know. They wanted to get that kind of feeling. Eton's just down the road from me. But from Hogwarts, you know, they're not Muggles. Muggles went to a comprehensive school. These little wizards. I want to tell a story about when I went to the Grand Lodge in Holborn. It will make sense. Like, there is a connection. And, yeah, I'm going to go for it. When I was in the Grand Lodge in Holborn, I was happily to find out that there was a tour on, like, at 2 o'clock. So I went back at 2 o'clock and had a guided tour around the building. I went into the cloakroom where they put all their paraphernalia on and, you know, la la la. And there's giant portrait paintings of princes. I asked the tour guide, like, why are they just princes? And he said, well, you have to be a prince to be Grandmaster Mason. Okay. So I went into the main hall. There's a really big room. There's interior design. On one side, you've got Eccles and Pythagoras. On the other side, on the other wall, you've got Apollo in his chariot. And the other, you've got the moon in her chariot. And the main point of focus on the north wall is a Hebrew yod. The tour guide was explaining that the Masons, they do go with the whole Bible thing. And, it's quite clear that, they're into Hebrew mysticism, Kabbalah. By looking at the museum/library in the lodge, you know, it's just full of old stuff like ancient crowns from, you know, kings, and they got loads of junk, you know. But the pictures throughout history that the Masons have done, I can clearly see that they're really into occultism. They love it. Of course, you know, we all know, like, with aristocrats and private schools, boarding schools, that is the first initiation into, a secret society. Then it is a bit of a joke in itself. Of course, you know, they're creating divide, not just intellectually, but, you know, I just feel...
Is that wing nut getting to your head again, Joel? It's amazing, all the stuff that we're talking through earlier. Do you know all the very strange things about this this Boston bombing?
Oh yeah.
Did you see all the pictures of people with legs blown off and stuff?
I have, yeah.
Not very pleasant, but it gets spooky. You know, one of the guys there looks the spitting image of Afghan war vet,
Iraqi
war vet, who had his legs blown off
in Iraq.
Yeah,
and there's another one of a girl lying on the ground with her right leg blown off, with no signs of pain or anguish on her face at all, when she's busy texting or something, checking the messages on her phone. Madness.
It seems everything's just getting stranger and stranger, don't you think, John?
Yeah, since 2012, yeah.
Maybe everybody had their eyes focused on 2012 and wasn't really paying attention to all the other stuff so much before then, or do you think that it's actually all increased since then?
It's interesting seeing the introduction of information into our culture. Like, let's just the 60s, that was the start of an influx of mysticism, the magical mystery tour sort of thing. We're coming to take you away. What's his name? Carlos Castaneda. That all came out. Everyone was all quite intrigued with the whole. Everyone was thinking, and it was a big culture shock. It was, the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll, Aleister Crowley thing.
It just seems to be getting crazier and crazier to me.
Me too, actually. But actually, going back to the 60s, I mean, one of the really significant things that happened in the 60s during all the counter-revolution, the revolutionary movements in America, a civil rights movement and everything, is the introduction of COINTELPRO to destabilize these movements and to break groups up and to bring mistrust and doubt, and I think we're seeing a massive resurgence of that now too, Joe?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about the Weather Underground, John?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Do you know much about that? Maybe people don't know. Maybe a lot of listeners haven't heard much about it.
They were some rich kids, weren't they? I forgot where they were from though. Somewhere in the States. Actors, says Dallas Goldberg. I got to say, can he get all of them right? I mean, there must be some that are wrong. There's some that's got to be wrong, but he really does bring up a really nice debate anyway. But this is the whole Hogwarts thing. If you're a Muggle and this world's run by these aristocratic wizards, or whatever, they've been educated to kind of create, weirdly, a game for the Muggles to play. With looking at the grand stretch of history, it's like only recently in this country that we got rid of hanging, capital punishment. They've totally shifted the gameplay here, and I'm feeling with the new Pope, if, like, I'm not religious, but I look into the Revelations because it is like a real trippy horror. It's a horror show. It's quite. It's good if you like a riddle. But they're saying about the eighth king, Revelation 17. That's kind of coining up with this Francis the First. So if he's the last pope, then this must make this the end games. If everyone's been keeping up with the Sandy Hook, Batman, now these bomb blasts, there's the Hollywood directors, they have kind of imbued, prophesized these events, or there's a movement called synchromysticism, where they look into movies and they relate it to the mass political or what's happening in the news and stuff, as if this is a game, and we've all just got to catch up what these Hogwarts wizards are doing, and catching them out. Like Charlie Finch, he got caught out. We're all going to get caught out, and we'll win. Yay! Yeah, a good one is Kim Jong-un, and obviously everyone starts thinking about Team America. I did anyway. But what was that movie about? What was Matt and Trey trying to say? My favourite satirists of they're my favourite. So is Chris Morris. He's also part of it. But yeah, in Team America, they're trying to explain that acting, the main character was a Hollywood actor. The American government used him for espionage, to go behind the Taliban front line, and they were telling you that they use actors in military operations. I mean, that is the whole thing of spy work or espionage. You have to act, be someone you're not. Yeah, with the bomb blast in Boston, that brought up the idea of Four Lions, the movie by Chris Morris. I freaking love that guy's work. He did The Day-to-Day, Brass Eye, Alan Partridge. I love Brass Eye. I love The Day-to-Day. He's from a Jesuit boarding school from Lancashire. That's where he was educated. And then he went to Brittany. His brother has a lot to do with the Bristol Vic, like Royal Drama Academy. We all know that the Royals, at the end of the day, are a military family. They call themselves the firm. Yeah, but with The Day-to-Day and Brass Eye, it is mocking what we all know as news. Just the same again. I honestly do feel that it's called Stonehenge. This Jesuit boarding school. In their library, they have all the skulls of the Jesuit monks throughout the years on the wall. Yeah.
This Boston bombing, one of the things that's likely to come out of that is going to be a whole lot of increased security for the London Marathon. And it was interesting, at Olympics time, there were all these rumours going that was going to turn out to be a big false flag. In fact, we went down and we reported it to the police. That's a bit of a story in itself. But someone broadcast, I think it was on one of the Devon radio stations, about G4S and their involvement in basically sabotaging all the security for the London Olympics. And it looked very much as if this was going to be a false flag, and I think they may have changed their mind about it just because there was quite so much exposure. Did you look into that at all, John?
I've heard recently that G4S are getting involved with Operation U-Tree and the whole Jimmy Savile case. For some reason, there's lots of controversy over that because they fucked up the Olympics or lost money or something stupid. But I work as a carpenter with my brother and father, and last week I was working on in Beaconsfield on, believe it or not, the top CEO of IBM. He's like, there's a G4S logo on his shed or whatever. I've noticed that G4S were also at other big bankers' houses that I've put roofs on for. G4S is, I'd say if you're a Mason, it's just, I'm still trying to, I guess it is, say what you see with those guys. I don't think they're any good. But yeah, just some official.
They seem to have a lot of ties in with Israel and also G4S. They were the bastards who were running the security at the magistrates' court in Chester when they basically tortured me for a day.
Really?
Yeah, and that was all G4S staff, and you find more and more court staff, prison staff. Even there was one of the police constabularies were going to replace a lot of their staff with G4S. I understand.
Blimey. Yeah, they just sound like a Serco. If you've heard of Serco.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
These companies, you know, I think sometimes it probably looks as though it's all just, you know, old boys network. They're all Masons and that kind of thing. But at the risk of being confirmed as being a moonbat, I'm sure that there's a whole scheme behind this, and that really they're working to a plan. Another thing that stood out in the news for me today was an article in the Telegraph that said population is, because this was talking about paupers' funerals and saying that fewer and fewer people can afford to pay for their funerals, and they're all trying to get benefits to pay for their funerals, and saying there was a really strange statement that said the death rate is going to increase by 17% per year for the next 15 years. Now, how do they know that? Well, they know that all their policies are making it so. Isn't that so?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Conservative, they have never really been kind to the lower end of the scale of the social class.
I think
it's the weather. Maybe it is. We are getting colder winters. Maybe, and the NHS will go, so they say. And what's going to happen to all the, you know, people in hospital beds with Alzheimer's? You know, when it comes to eugenics and all that, yeah, point the finger to Prince Philip. He said something really interesting. He said, if reincarnation is a fact, then I want to return as a deadly virus in order to contribute something to the problem of overpopulation. And that's in his own words. That's what he said. I've heard hearsay before about, yeah, he's, you know, the elite, these aristocrats or whatever, see it as a problem. I mean, like, everyone's heard of, like, the Georgia Stones and all that. I can imagine, like, yeah, there are people that do have these intent. I apologise for that brief interruption. Moonbats flew into the computer system. What were we talking about?
We're talking about population control, Joel, and Georgia guidance stones and all that kind of thing. Whether people heard that, whether we cut off, I don't know. But carry on.
Yeah, everyone's got the gist through the Truth Movement, Alex Jones and all that, about all these, like, doom and gloom stories. Yeah, if people do have that intent to do that, they have to persuade us, the masses, into it. If you know what I mean, they have to persuade or manipulate us in a certain way to get what they want. They have to use us to control ourselves or get rid of ourselves if they want that. But it's not going to happen if you don't want it to. You know, I know it's a farce. All these politicians, they are actors, aren't they? Just go up on stage and just lie. They're actors. They say that we put them there, through the voting system stuff. That's also, really highly suspicious with, do we really? Ugh. At the end of the day, we put them in there, so they say, we can take them out. I mean, that's with the whole truth movement, they are rapidly playing catch up with us. Like, here you go, have all this fucking information. They're like bringing us in hundreds and hundreds of years of, ignorance and darkness. With the truth movement, I do feel like is highly suspicious, just like Charlie Lynch and the Occupy movement. It is all created by, the government, David Icke and that, but only to bring us into the end games, where if the truth movement is anything, it's to progress our evolutionary state, to raise our intelligence and awareness and open-mindedness in order to bring us into the next step of evolution. In my mind, it's contact and space. I love exopolitics. I read quite a lot about it, got really obsessed about it on the internet, and there's sources of information where I don't agree with, but there's sources of information which I find just so beyond any. They're so intelligent. Some of this, like, philosophies and the spiritual side, how they see life. The Zeta Reticuli, so one. They're pretty cool. There's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of crap being talked about them, but they explain it as the quarantine is down since 2012. They can make contact now, but they are waiting until we're at an evolved level in order to help us out. I mean, this planet is in a bit of a mess. They don't want to come down and just sort of out all for us. They know that it's a natural process of we've got to do it ourselves. We'll make the effort anyway, and then they'll help us. I mean, if we look back at alternative history in the ancient times, freaking loads of them about, so they say. There's all the mythologies, all these interesting sounding folk, but then they might as well be from outer space, But especially Genesis and the whole Book of Enoch, and Zachariah and so quarantine has been taken up, and they can come down and say hello and maybe help us out with technology, maybe help us out with quite a lot of things. But I don't think they'll be coming down anytime soon. We're still watching American football and shooting each other with guns. Moonbat.
Well, moonbats are all right. They shouldn't worry you too much. It's these wingnuts, or at least I believe it's the wingnuts that we've got to worry about.
Flying about all over the place.
And it seems that we've only got about a minute left, or minute and a half left anyway, John. So have we got any famous last words? Or...
I was going to say, blown all my beans now. I have nothing else to say. I don't know.
It's not easy when you're working to a deadline, really, is it? But this is one of the hazards of trying to look half professional on the radio, is we've got to time things so that the music in the middle and the jingles and everything fit. We start the next show just on time, and But I've really enjoyed your show tonight, Joel. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's been a great show, Joel. Been a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure producing for you. Well, I'm just the assistant to the producer, but you know what I mean. We've
loved it very much, and coming up just after the break, we've got Sarah and Thierry.
With the wellness, well-being show.
Wellness and well-being, which is always great. I love their shows, and particularly I love their laughter and the way that they hit things off together.
Yeah.
And so Joel, thank you very much, and we'll catch you next week, I'm sure. Cheers, bro.
You.